I'm in class. Go to bed, dude. I'm in class. Sorry, guys. Go ahead.
You're good.
She's talking. She's talking.
No, Daddy's school.
She's talking.
No. Great.
As parents, Vaughn, shouldn't we be like the best negotiators ever?
She's talking.
For what now?
I said, I think like as a parent, we should learn how to be like the best negotiators on the planet.
Yeah, but it's like negotiating with terrorists. The little kids just don't follow any rules.
Yeah,
It doesn't make a difference.
you have to be really good at negotiating, man.
Yeah.
All right. So the success of the pilot program. What did Jordan? Let's start with you. What do you think? What do you think was good about the pilot program, the mentoring program?
I think there's a couple things when I was reading through.
Jordan, hold on for a second. Hey, Vaughn, can you do me a favor while your little boy's there? Maybe mute your mic.
Okay, got it.
All right, we're good.
Yeah, we're good, man.
All right. So I think there's a couple things reading through here. I think some positives that came out of this program was that the employees that were in this program, I think they felt a little bit more loyalty or loyal to the bank, or to the bank that they were in. Where's the another button? I marked them down here. I also think that
I think something that stood out to me that went well for the program was, how there was a lot of complaints about how it wasn't very supported by senior leadership in the past, or that it was rolled out and that it died down. It was just the flavor of the month, I think, is even how it described it. It wasn't something that was lasting, but when they put it together this time, they really put a lot of effort into it. A lot of effort into management promoting it, a lot of effort into marketing it, a lot of effort into selecting mentors and mentee candidates, a lot of effort into training those mentors and the mentees. And then not only that, 9 months or whatever it was down the road, having lunches or breakfasts with the mentors and thanking them for the time and effort that they're putting into it. There was definitely a new culture that changed this time around compared to prior times, that really showed an investment by the leadership organization to make this something that they wanted to have it make a lasting impact on the organization.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is my mic working?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I turned off my camera. I don't know if it's necessary or not. I guess, why do you think it was, like, in your organization, Vaughn, you were,
and I work for a bank.
Yeah,
Yep.
you work for Wells Fargo. Would something like this ever be necessary?
We actually have a mentor-mentee program as well. It's huge. I think that what they did at the Federal Reserve of Chicago, Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago or whatever, was probably a little more robust than what we do, because pretty much anybody can be a mentee If you want to be it, they find you a mentor type of thing. But at the same time, there isn't as much investment into the development or the training and coaching and guiding of the mentors as there appears to be at the Federal Reserve of Chicago. So I personally don't get involved in the mentor-mentee program because I don't know, it's just not my thing. But they do it, and I think it can be impactful for the right type of people.
So I get that. So my question, like when I first going through this, is like, I've never worked for a huge organization, and quite frankly, I never want to.
Yeah.
But it just seems to me that the only reason why such a program is necessary is when your company is so bureaucratic and when moving up is such a bureaucratic process that it doesn't come naturally. I don't know, like, so that's my first take. But at the same time, like in a company like Wells Fargo,
yeah,
as a company, I need to make sure that I'm putting the best people in the right positions. And when you have a huge company, it's so easy for people to fall through the cracks because their immediate supervisor, because they're not in the position that they are right now. I mean, just think about it like on a simple level with high school sports or college sports. How many kids don't make their full potential because they didn't get along with their high school wrestling coach or their high school football coach, and so they never ended up going to college? You know what I mean? They had just as good of athletes, but they got buried in bureaucracy. They got buried in politics. So as a company, how do we make sure that our best talent doesn't get buried by a bad manager, or not necessarily a bad manager, but a manager that doesn't see the vision in that person? I don't know if that's making sense.
Yeah, I think, and they didn't really talk about it in depth here, but like I could speak from my experience with Wells Fargo, that you don't necessarily mentee, and in fact, they kind of promote it this way. You don't want to be a mentee for a mentor that is within your chain of command, or even with a mentor that's within your division.
And so I think I'm pretty sure in the criteria, at least under the Federal Reserve, it did say they cannot. Like, for example, they will not team you up with a mentor if they're in the same division as you.
Okay, so it did say that. Okay, I must have read over that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what would be important to make this a true mentor-mentee. Now, granted, there was awesome retention results and really good promotion results, and so while
I think 7 out of the 25 got promotions within a few months or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And while that's really positive, I would hope that would actually not be connected together. What the reason why I'd want it to be connected together is because that showed more engaged and more committed team members. Like I think it was even under the retention section that it was talking about all that. But that's what I'd want it to show, is that there was a high retention and a high commitment of team members, and not as much, hey, let's develop our bench strength. And let's find our next leaders, and let's look to those peer mentors to find out if anybody's ready to be promoted. I don't think I'd want to have the mentor program be for that. I'd want it to just be about, I think, just developing individuals and hopefully strengthening our skill base across the organization. So while I see where you're coming from, and I would agree with you on that, I would hate for it to be so bureaucratic that only those who participate in the mentor-mentee program do get the consideration. To your point, I wouldn't want that to be viewed as negative against somebody who didn't, because it isn't how I choose to operate or get involved in. But I could totally see what you mean about a large organization kind of having to do something like that to help develop their talent and kind of get the word out there on who is talented. But I would want to make sure that they are independent of promotions, and that it just helps them. I mean, I know I had managers underneath me who One of them was really bad at interviewing, but she was a great employee, an awesome team member for me. And she ended up not getting like some jobs because she ended up getting a mentor because she was getting passed up on jobs because she kept getting told that her interviewing skills were just really bad. And it stunk because she was a solid team member, but she got a mentor just to help her with her interviewing. So, I mean, I guess I have a wide range of reasons why I think it's beneficial, but it's just not my flavor, I guess.
Can you hear me? Sorry, I had to mute my remote for a second. So in that particular case, did she end up getting some interview skills out of the deal, or she just got some moral support while she was getting passed up for promotions?
No, yeah, she definitely got developed and improved, and was looking for having more opportunities to share that experience and just kind of working through all that. But I mean, it was beneficial for her. And like I was saying, I mean, it just kind of makes that if nothing else, it makes it a more committed team member, so that even if they don't get promoted, they're still a committed individual who recognizes that the company and organization is investing in them and is willing to set aside that kind of time so that they can work on some of their skills or character traits that are independent of what they're currently doing on their job.
So this is kind of going to go into the next part, to the part two. I had a job when I lived in Virginia. I had a job working for a small company, and we sold water purification systems to commercial businesses. Like the water, the water jug that's in your office or whatever. We sold a standalone thing that plugged into the water line and did reverse osmosis and oxidized the water so that it never grew bacteria in the tank or anything. I mean, it was just a better solution to a bottled water tank. So pretty low tech, nothing glamorous about it. I would go into a office building, find out if they're using those bottled water, and then try and get an appointment with the decision maker and sell a lease on one of our units. Nothing flashy about the job, nothing challenging about it. As a return missionary, you have all the skills to make a cold call and make a sell. So nothing really good about the job, except for my boss in that company. His name was Leland Phipps, and this was kind of his retirement business. He had, I don't know, it was kind of his hobby business more than anything. He had sold a business called Concept Automations that he and a friend had started basically right out of college for $600 million.
Whoa.
And yeah. So he was rich. He was the LDS. In fact, I got the job from my singles ward, and the one-on-one time that I got to spend with him in his office was worth more than any paycheck I've ever had. You know what I mean? Like, we had some good paychecks, but the fact that I got to sit down with him and talk about, his days of starting Concept Automations and going from 2 guys in the garage to 600 million. I mean, just like, it was, he's not Steve Jobs by any means, but pretty similar, Yeah. And the time that I got to spend with him was way more valuable than the paycheck. And even though the job was pretty mundane and really repetitive, I loved it because I got to work for Leland.
That's cool.
So that, and that's, to me, a small company is that right off the bat, you get who your boss is, you get that. Whereas if you work for a big company, I think you can easily just become a number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is your thoughts on that, Jordan? Did I hang out?
I agree. I mean, I don't think there's really much more to say. I just agree with what you said.
It's kind of like, where'd you serve your mission again? You went to Kenya or something crazy, didn't you?
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia. Was there ever where, I don't know, just the mission president called you, or the assistants, or a good zone leader or somebody? I mean, it basically got the same process, isn't it? A mentoring process, going on exchanges on the mission field. Went from a bad experience to a good experience.
Yeah, I had a couple of those. I had a pretty. I don't mean to like one up myself, but I had a pretty unique mission, and I had an event that had happened to me, and 2 weeks before I was supposed to come home. And I remember the mission president calling me in and just giving me counsel on things that I could probably do better, and things that finish out my mission and finish out my mission strong. And so, yeah, I could say that is like mentoring.
Cool.
All right, so going on to part 3, analyzing the program. Do you think a less formal mentoring program would be even better? It didn't seem to me like it wasn't too much like, we're going to meet at this time. And I don't think they had a set time. It was just 4 hours a month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Anyway, it seems like the only way to really make it less formal was to not pair them up in the first place. And I don't know. Anyway, so the question is, would a less formal mentoring program work even better?
Yeah, and I'm kind of looking at that second question too. And better to be formal, or just allow it to kind of grow naturally or organically? I think the only way that this could have been as successful as it was if it was as formal as it was. Granted, it wasn't formal like the manager, like the CEO walked into when he first got there, like authoritarian, like it was that way at all. In fact, the way that they set it up, I felt like what they did was very positive, because they helped to make sure that it was going to get the right support that it needed to be lasting. And I think that if it didn't have a strong foundation, then it would just be, well, two things. I think if it didn't have the strong, organization set up at the beginning, it was not going to last. But then part two, I also think that that it would probably have siloed people too much. Like it would not have given people to get to know each other cross-functionally or across the organization, because like if it was just naturally saying, oh yeah, hey, you guys are both in this division, or you both want to do this, or you both like this, we're going to just have you be mentors and mentees. I feel like they put a lot of effort into identifying and pairing up the right mentor with the right mentee. And I don't think that could have just happened naturally. They really put effort into that, and I think that that's because of how formal they were in the structure.
And I think to go along with your point, Vaughn, is, do you remember how, I can't remember if it was one manager or a few managers started complaining about the program because they lost an employee, their employee was going to go jaw for 4 hours a month or something like that,
Yeah.
So if it wasn't formal and there wasn't like, no, this is what this person's supposed to be doing and we're paying them to do it, then, managers would have, I guess, tried to get disciplinary action or whatever for these people who are trying to do a mentoring program organically. And I think that was,
disciplinary or
what'd you
okay.
say?
I was saying disciplinary, or like even they just would not have been so considerate of the team member wanting and feeling like they deserve to have that time. They probably would have kept them busy or said, oh, skip it this week or something like that. But having it formal and structured allowed them to concrete set aside that time.
And I think that one of the purposes of the mentoring program was to try and change the culture of the bank being such a
Right.
what's the word? Authoritarian.
Right. Yeah, it would allow for more freedom and flexibility.
Yep.
How do we lose him again? I just realized he's not on the bottom now.
Well, we must have lost him.
Hopefully he'll join right back in. Chelsea said she was going to be late, so at best she was going to try and just finish up a couple things that she was still working on and then get back together with us later. So hopefully she can join, but if not, no biggie.
Yeah, no biggie.
Whew, I'm sorry. Apologize for yawning.
I get it. It's late.
Hmm. So you're with the city of Layton, is that where you're at?
Roy.
Roy, that's right. I knew you were close, somewhere up there.
Yeah, it's
That's cool. What do you do for them over there?
I work in their parks.
Oh, Parks and Rec and all that?
Yeah.
Cool. I know oh, go ahead, Carl, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know how long I was out. Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, no, I was just asking
Oh, we
where
were
you work
sorry.
at.
We were just we were just talking until you.
Came back online.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry about that.
No big deal.
I don't know where I cut out. I was talking forever and ever and ever. It's probably a good thing I got cut out.
To be honest, I don't recall where you cut out either. Sorry.
Nah, that means it wasn't important. Okay. Moving forward, wrap up. Why do you think less people signed up for the second round?
I don't. Maybe I don't know. I think maybe like maybe they caught a bad rap from the other people that had joined in the first round, or I was thinking maybe something along the lines of maybe there was the people in the first round were kind of just going down and teaching what they had learned, or I don't know. I don't know why. It kind of seems weird that they dropped a couple people.
Yeah,
Vaughn, what do you think?
I couldn't really figure that out because then it also said that when they went in the third round, applications were up, or that they added 25 new pairs. So, and there was really positive reviews from the first round. So, to be honest, I couldn't really put my finger on it for why the second round wasn't as successful.
I mean, it's all speculation, but I think it has to do with what Jordan said, where I don't know if it put an increased workload on other team members, and so they were griping, oh, so and so is going to go meet with their, go to this mentoring thing, and we're got to pick up her slack, and so it just created more problems. I don't know, but people seem to be pretty excited about it, so that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that for sure, because you kind of look at it and think, yeah, the first round was so they were having to set aside a lot of time to go do it, and maybe there was a negative perception being spun on it unfairly because people were feeling like, oh man, if I took a day off to go do this mentoring thing, I was going to be behind on my work or whatever else, and then my manager wouldn't give me enough consideration. So it was just like, is this even really worth it?
Right. But see, even the third round had 25 people. I mean, in a company of 2,000.
Yeah, 25 new pairs I thought is what it said. So like 50 new people in addition to their normal numbers. I thought that's what it said, or in addition to what it was the prior year. So in year 3, it was 25 more pairs over what they had in year 3. But maybe I read that wrong.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Because weren't they trying to cap it at 30 pairs the second round?
Yeah, let's see.
I think they were trying to. I think they were trying to cap it at 30, and they only got 22 applicants or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Either way, I mean, it's not like people are putting in lottery tickets for this deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is that it wasn't necessary. People didn't feel like they needed it. It wasn't. It's not in demand, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the long story short is it's just not in demand. But if you're trying to change culture, if you're trying to change the,
We lost him again.
Lost him again.
I just hope he recognizes it this time.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Oh, popped up. Yeah, there we go.
There he is.
Anyway, so if you were trying to change the culture of your company, what would you have tried to do to get more people in with the program?
I don't know. I feel like what they did a really good job of was organizing it from a manager, from a top-down perspective. I would think that maybe not having it as formal, if you felt it was too formal, maybe getting that feedback from the frontline team members. But the frontline team members, from the mentee, not the mentor perspective. So getting the mentees a chance to share what their feedback would be, which they did, and they all had generally positive reviews of it. But maybe it would be beneficial to say, hey, is there a better way that we could do this? And mentees, what would you like to see out of this? So maybe it's not having these side-by-sides or face-to-face meetings, but rather maybe it's just like, hey, we're gonna fly you out to this group and you can see how this group operates, or this manager, or you can tell us what group you want to work with and we'll find you a mentor there, or something along those lines. And otherwise, I would say that they probably did a pretty good job, especially for their first go around.
What do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what Lana said. Maybe give people a little bit more incentive. I mean, just like he was saying, maybe fly them out to a different group and have them watch and yeah, just see how other people are doing it.
Right.
So I guess that ties in, the people who really need some mentoring but didn't sign up for the program. What do you think it would pay off to just have the manager directly go to them and say, hey, I want you to do this? What else?
I don't know, because I feel like they kind of already did that. I mean, maybe their other area of opportunity would be to get the frontline managers to buy into it a little bit more, so that they were more supportive of it. But I feel like they did a good job of getting managers, at least those involved, and like assigning an executive to be over it. I thought was a good move because it shows a true investment. But really, I don't know that you want to push the mentor-mentee program, like what we were saying earlier in the call. I'd rather have quality over quantity. So if I have a smaller number of people that are going through the mentor program, but they're ones who want to do it, then I'm going to take that route over saying, hey, we have a requirement to have 100 mentees and 100 mentors. I just don't feel like you're going to get the effectiveness.
I guess that's my thought is, if you don't have the initiative to take the initiative, if you don't even have enough ambition to sign up for a class or to sign up for a program that's going to help you advance your career, then why the heck would I even ask you to join?
Right.
So Jordan, what would you do with the program going forward? Like specifically, what specifically would you do if you were overseeing it?
If I was doing it, I'd maybe try and maybe keep it a little smaller. I don't know. For me, if I would expand it, maybe later on down the road, but I would think I'd just keep it a little bit smaller, and just like we were saying before, maybe just focus on those people that want to be there instead of trying to force people to go.
Right.
But for me, I would just like to keep it small and focus on those people that want to be there.
How about you, Vaughn?
No, yeah, that's exactly what I would do. I would just say, hey, it may not have the same level of interest. It may not have 50 people each, but I'm going to get the right mentors with the right mentees, and it's not going to be. I would rather have the quality over quantity, and I just know that these 50 people that are the mentors and 50 that are the mentees are going to be fully invested in what we're doing, and that's what we want out of it. So it would be a terrible decision, in my opinion, to make it a requirement or to have a quota for how many people you want to have in there. I would just say, who wants to participate, who wants to be involved in something like this, and then work from that and make it as powerful as possible, because that's what's going to make it lasting and staying power is because people are seeing the benefit of it. So it may not be a whole lot of people, but those people that are involved see the benefit of it. If you water it down too much and just say, hey, we want to take anybody and anything, I think that you're just going to lose a lot of interest, because people are going to say, hey, well, yeah, I'm forced to do this, or it's not that great, but I'm going to do it anyways, or something. Or I was told, my manager made me do it. It's like people, that stuff gets around and people just lose interest in it. And then everybody feels like all you're trying to do is check a box and you're not actually trying to develop.
Yeah.
I think if I was in charge of it, what I would do is I would weed out. I guess I would be really picky on who I allow to be a mentor.
Yeah.
I think I would focus on that. I would have the very best people leaders. I think that, within a company, there's going to be different types of leaders. There are some leaders who are really good motivators. There's some who are going to be really good strategizers or whatever, but I would get the really good people leaders and put them as the mentors and limit it to just them. Because I think the worst thing you can do for your company is have a chump for a mentor. The blind leading the blind type of a situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's I guess all I would add is it seemed like they weren't very picky on who they decided to be a mentor.
Yeah.
I would be extremely picky on who I allow to be a mentor, and then, if that's 20, if that's 30, if it's 10, if it's 5, I don't know what that number would be. Whoever was the very best people in the organization, and then I don't know. I think that if you have a good culture to begin with, you don't need it.
Yeah, agreed.
Ideally, you get your company to where the managers are approachable and people feel like there is mobility, and the very fact that you think that you need to be coached on how to get a promotion shows to me that you got a bad culture.
Yeah.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
All right. I think that should be a wrap.
Cool. Thanks for leading us tonight, man.
I think that we've covered everything that we should, and anything more is just going to be fluff.
Same stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Right,
I guess
cool.
we'll post it for Chelsea, and
We'll do.
we'll do. Unless I'm missing something. Am I missing anything?
Not that I
I
can
don't
see.
see anything.
Just before we go, if you guys don't mind, let's talk a little bit about the doohickeys. You said, what did she end up giving us total?
C plus.
C
No.
plus. It was like 19 out of 25 points or something like that.
Yeah.
And did she do any specifics on that? I guess she did. I'll review them.